statistical, mathematical fact
never has been down.
has broken every single record. There is no asset that has come close.
It's the only thing in the industry that was not touched, that was not hacked, and it never fails doing what it promised in 2009. It's never
What's
failed.
the best performing asset the world has ever seen? And you'll find out that it's
Welcome.
Bitcoin.
Welcome, Bitcoiners. Welcome, traders. Welcome, followers. Welcome, supporters. Welcome, haters. Welcome to all of you. I welcome everyone. Welcome to another live space with Oliver Velez. Of course, my name is Oliver Velez. And what I'm actually trying to do here is be your Bitcoiner for life, or at least one of them. I want to be that voice in the wilderness that helps guide you through the maze. I want to be that voice of reason that helps you cut through, capture, and clarify the essence of what I believe to be one of the best monies human beings have ever come in contact with, and one of the best innovations the world has ever experienced. I want to help you cut through the FUD. I want to help you get down to the basic reasons why this is going to change not only our lives. I want you to understand why it's going to have such an impact on our futures, but also I want you to understand how it is going to change the world and why it's incredibly important for you to adopt it today. That is what I want to be for you. This does not necessarily mean that I am a Bitcoin expert. I still consider myself to be a baby in the space, but I've spent over 10,000 plus hours studying Bitcoin, investigating Bitcoin for the past 3.5 years of my life, every single day. This is largely because at a certain point, when I began to experiment with Bitcoin, largely from a trading perspective, something happened to me, an epiphany, if you will, a moment of Damascus, if you will. I was knocked down, blown away, and for whatever reason, the curtain was lifted. And because of Bitcoin, I saw Oz. Because of Bitcoin, the matrix was totally revealed to me. And to be honest with you, it is my wish that that experience, that moment of Damascus, that lifting of the curtain, to see Oz, that being, I want the matrix to be revealed to you in the same way that it was revealed to me. I decided to dedicate my skill, whatever talent I have, to basically spread the gospel of Bitcoin, because I believe that it's the most important thing, dare I say, that all humans have at their disposal today. And I believe that those who adopt Bitcoin today now stand to be extraordinarily fortunate in their lives and in the future lives of their bloodline in the future. I do also believe that that window of opportunity, while to a certain extent will stay open for time immemorial, forever for the most part, the greatest opportunity of all is still in front of us. And I'm going to pound the table. I vow to myself that I will pound the table until there is no table to pound, to ensure that at least if for anyone who is willing to give up a little tiny portion of their lives in the form of their time to listen to what I have to say, I'm going to do my very best to help you see this exactly the way I see it. So, what does that mean? That means that I'm a 13%er. I'm one of the members of that elite group, the elite of the elite, that believes that this is our only chance. I am part of that elite group that believes that Bitcoin is the only solution, that there cannot be an alternative. There is no other choice that we have. There is no other option. This is it, or we are doomed. And that is my purpose here. Now, today, I want to thank you all once again. I always want to thank each and every one of you who decides to listen to me live. Even if you're listening to me in a non-live format, you are giving up something extraordinarily precious and limited. That is your time. Time is the stuff that your life is made up of. But what's unique about time is that once you spend it, you cannot ever get it back again. It's actually possible to spend Bitcoin and get it back. You may not, but it's still possible. But with your time, it's absolutely impossible to get it back. This is why it is imperative that we be extraordinarily careful where we spend that time, because it is finite. It's not just limited, it is absolutely finite. And it is actually becoming more and more finite every single second of our lives. And the fact that you are here, willing to give me a portion of that most finite, that most scarce, that most valuable commodity you have, which is your time, which in fact is your life itself, that is something that I don't take lightly. And so I promised a long time ago that each and every time I am given the opportunity to speak in front of a mic, in front of an audience, small or great, on a podium, on stage, and I've been doing this for 30 years, spreading the gospel of financial freedom, I promised that I would do my absolute best, that when I'm afforded that very special honor, I would do my best to make sure that you or I share something that I truly believe in my heart and soul that you'll be able to use not only today, not only to tomorrow, but perhaps for the rest of your lives. I hope I'm able to accomplish that here today. Now, I want to talk about something that I believe will put to rest not only the concerns of many people in the world today regarding Bitcoin, but perhaps some of your concerns as well. I believe that there are people listening to this today that have a hard time with the concept that, but what is Bitcoin backed by? I'm sure that most people who are listening to this today some of you have a hard time with that, but it's not backed by anything. There's no government behind it. What is its use case? There's no utility. And whenever someone brings this up, and the mainstream media is very good at bringing this up, that it's not backed by anything, it doesn't have a use case, it doesn't have utility. Some of you might have a difficult time coming back at that. You might even intrinsically believe that the narrative is not true, but you may not have the wherewithal to combat the narrative, to come back at the narrative. Maybe someone in your family mentions this, but that magic internet money is not backed by anything. That's going to fail. And you might intrinsically know that this is absolutely wrong, but you don't know how to come back at that. Well, that is going to be solved after our talk today. Now, keep in mind that I do encourage that you ask your questions. I want your questions. I believe that your questions are extraordinarily important during these talks that we have. But I will say this, for those of you who want me to pass the mic, that's not going to happen. I don't do that. I believe that my style, my form of delivery, the manner in which I share my information and the little bit of knowledge that I have is best done in the form of me giving a monologue and you asking questions either during that monologue or after. I don't want you to be shy at this. There is no topic that is off limits. You can ask anything your little heart desires, but your questions are important. I also want you to understand that every single talk of mine does wind up in full form on my podcast called Bitcoin Unleashed. I strongly encourage that you watch that. There, I have now on my podcast, I believe, sorry, back to little puppy, guys. Every single time I get on the mic, little puppy wants to bark. But I want you to understand that I believe that we now have something like 51 different episodes. So there are 51 different talks on 51 different topics. It is going to be impossible if you take even a few of those in not to elevate your level of sophistication regarding Bitcoin and this freedom technology. Also, if you actually take in those talks you can actually take in Bitcoin Unleashed on virtually every single podcasting platform that is in existence today. But I like the Fountain app because the Fountain app does two things. Number one, it gives you the ability to earn free sats the same way Bitcoin used to be for free in the past, and now that seems crazy. Today, you can get free sats, which I believe will be considered to be crazy in the future, but you can receive free sats for just listening to me talk, or anyone for that matter, through the Fountain app. So I like the Fountain app because you can earn free sats listening to podcasts. The second reason I like Fountain app is because it, outside of all the other platforms, it allows me to take my podcast or my episode, which might be an hour long or hour and a half long, and divide it into certain segments or clips, if you will, that are and might be more digestible for you. So you can take in a clip that's 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes. And what I like to do with these is when I'm doing my cardio work, I might grab a few segments that make up the duration of my cardio work that might help me get through the cardio by listening to these 2 clips or these 3 clips or what have you. That's how I like to use it. So I strongly encourage that you actually seek Bitcoin Unleashed out so that you have access to all of the talks we've had. Okay. All right. Enough of the introduction. So let's delve right into this, guys. And what I want to discuss today is why you do not want Bitcoin to have a utility outside of just being pure money. I want to discuss and convince you, if you aren't already convinced, that Bitcoin is not supposed to have a use case, that its superiority lies in the fact that it doesn't have a use case outside of money, that it is the ultimate solution to money today because it's not used for anything else except being a money. And if you are not already there, I promise you, I'm going to do my best throughout this talk to convince you as to why you should understand this. And I'm going to convince you that it is so. You do not want Bitcoin to have a use case outside of what it already does. All right. So let's begin. All right. I actually strongly suggest that you might want to take some notes along the way, if you can, because this is going to be somewhat packed with some detail. All right. First of all, I think it's important to understand that many people have actually grown up with this idea that money itself is bad. I have heard more often than I care to mention. I've heard the saying the same way most of you have heard the saying that money is the root of all evil, and that is entirely untrue. Money is the actual thing that separates our species from all the other species. See, here on this planet Earth, I don't know what happens on other planets or in other galaxies. We have yet to do intergalactic travel. All right, I don't know about you. So I can only speak about the planet that I live on, and I know for sure that on this planet, we are, as human beings, we are the top species. We are the dominant species. But what makes us the top species, what makes us the dominant species, is largely the fact that we use money. Money is what separates us from other animals, because without a manner in which we are allowed to trade amongst each other, we must kill each other. You see, without a money or a medium of exchange or a store of value, I must take from you in order to survive. And if you go through all the other species, they don't have money per se. They don't really have trade. What they do is dominate, and it is truly survival of the fittest. And while the human species is subject to the laws of survival of the fittest, it is subject to the laws of survival of the fittest in more humane ways because of money. But if we did not have money, we would not be able to relate with each other. And if we did not have money, we would not be able to trade for the things that we need. We would have to take the violence. We would have to take the lives of others in order to survive. So when someone says that money's not that important, they have no concept of what real true money is and what it has done for the human race. it has elevated us above all other living creatures. So now that we get the importance of money out of the way, I do want you to understand that because of this importance throughout the entire history of existence, man, and when I say man, I'm not talking in a sexist way, I'm talking about mankind, the human species. So throughout the entire history of existence, man has been in search for the perfect money. Now, what's interesting is that this is not a conscious search. It's not like a man is born and says, oh, my purpose on life is to search out what is the best money. No, it is unconscious. But I want it to be clear that throughout the entire history of existence, man has been, from the beginning of time, in search for the perfect money. In fact, the entire evolutionary path, the entire evolutionary process of the human species has largely been driven by this search for the perfect money. Again, the search is not conscious, but rather it's driven by an innate desire to retain one's value. I'm going to repeat that. This search is not conscious. It is innate inside of every human being. And inside of every human being, inside of the DNA that we are born with, resides this natural urge to reserve my value. Now, check this out. Retaining your surplus value. This is what we're driven by. This is inextricably intertwined with the desire to preserve one's life. So our desire, our innate urge to protect and save whatever we have produced in excess is really, truly underneath it all, the desire to preserve our lives. We all have a preservation instinct that's part of our DNA, and preserving your surplus value is the same as preserving your life. Now, some might say, well, Oliver, that's a weird link. How do you put that together? Like, why does surplus value represent your very life? Well, I believe I mentioned it at the top of my talk. Time. You see, time is the stuff that life is made up of. And so, whatever you spend your time doing, you are actually spending your life. Your life is made up of time. If you were to take all the time away from you, you would no longer have life. So time equals your life. Some of us have 85 years in our lives. Some people have 91 years. Some people have 72 years in their life. But whatever allotted time represents your life, whatever time that you live on this planet is equivalent to your life. And so it naturally goes without being said that your time is actually your life. Now, if you listen, sorry about that. If I also want you to look at it in this fashion as well, that if you have spent your time working for another man, you have given this other man 40 hours in a week of your time. This is your time, but you have given it to another man, another organization, a job, okay? In exchange for that time, you receive value. So your time was given, you receive value. So the value that you receive is actually the representation of the time you gave, but the time you gave is actually your life. So the value that you got in exchange was for your life. And so value equals your life. I gave 40 hours of my life to this man in exchange for him receiving my life. I received this value. I must protect this. And anyone who disrespects that value that they received, anyone who throws it up in the air, anyone who takes that value and purchases something, some bullshit with it, or throws it out of the window, or wastes it on something irrelevant and unimportant, they are actually disrespecting their lives. And this is why people who don't value money usually are poor, because a poor mentality is one that does not respect his own life. All right. Now, guys, give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. Sorry about that. So, time is your very life. Now, let's take this a little bit further. All right. Embedded in your time is everything that you are. So, you have gone to school up to a certain point. When inside of your time is your level of knowledge, your all the information you know is embedded in the very time that you give to someone else. You work on a job for 40 hours. Inside of that time, you are giving away, in which is embedded in that time, your knowledge, your education, your information, your skill. Embedded in your time is your skill. And so your time is infused with exactly who you are. It is the best of who you are. It is who you are. And so, looked at this way, it can be clearly seen that whenever I give my time, I give my life. And so, by giving your life away, you receive something in return for that. That thing that you receive in return for you giving up your life is what true money is. And because this money that you have received in return for your life, because this money represents your life, there should be this innate desire to protect it if it doesn't need to be used right away. So if you receive money, but you need to use it right away, that's one thing. But there is surplus a lot of times. And the more advanced we become as human beings, the more potentially you have the ability to generate surplus value over and beyond what you need at the current moment. There was a time in the evolutionary process where most human beings, and I know we still have them today, but where almost all human beings did not have surplus. Whatever, they barely could get what they needed at the moment. But today, especially in developed countries, and I use that word just for lack of a better word, in your more developed countries, most people have the ability to earn or develop or develop value that is not necessarily needed in the exact moment. They have surplus. This surplus is your life. And innate in our DNA is the desire to preserve our life. And so innate in us is the desire to protect that surplus, which, for lack of a better word, everyone calls money. Okay? Now, the Greek philosopher Aristotle, I believe he lived, 300 BC, 350 BC. He was a student of Plato, and he was actually a teacher of Alexander the Great. Now, Aristotle understood this very, very well. And I believe it was him who actually took it upon himself to list the qualities that make for the best preservation of value of your excess. So the value that you produce in excess needs to be preserved. But what are the qualities that make for the best preservation of that value? And so Aristotle came up with a list of things that makes for the best preservation of that value, the best money. Now, I posted this image in the post that announced this talk today. And if you can, I'd like to have you go Go grab that. Now, in this post, it are the qualities of several forms of money, one of which is gold. Now, this image was actually created or put out by Fidelity, one of the largest asset managers in the entire world. I believe that they have somewhere between $4 and $7 trillion under management. And this is their image, actually. And so if you look at the image, what you will see, give me just a second here, I'm going to pull it up myself. What you will see is you'll see several qualities along the left side. These qualities were actually, most of these qualities were basically put together by Aristotle thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago, I should say. All right. And the qualities that he believed were the best qualities that promoted preservation of your surplus value, or the item that you are storing in, the money that you are storing your excess in should be durable. All right. It should be divisible. It should be fungible. It should be portable. It should be verifiable, and it should be scarce. These are the qualities that Aristotle came up with, and they still hold water today. And what you see that Fidelity did was to compare gold with Bitcoin and fiat currency. And if we were to take the first quality, durability, the more durable your store of value, where you put your excess in until you need it, you want it to be durable, because if you put your excess in oranges and the oranges go bad the next day, or you leave them out in the cold weather and they freeze overnight, or you leave them unprotected and bugs ruin them, then you are ruining your life. You are freezing your life to death, or you are destroying your life by putting your excess value, which we've already determined is your life, in something that can easily be destroyed. It's not durable enough. So you want this to last over time. You want it to be there for you in full tact, whether that's 3 months from now, 3 years from now, or 3 decades from now. And so the more durable your money, the more sound it is as a store of value. You want it to be divisible, because if you store your value in a cow, all right, well, how do you buy eggs with a cow? How do you buy a pair of shoes with a cow without killing the cow and cutting a little tiny piece of the cow off? So the best stores of value are not only durable, they are also divisible, where you can easily divide them to purchase all different sizes of things. You also want your money to be fungible. You want that store of value to be fungible. What does that mean? You want it to be the same for everyone. So, for instance, if I store my value, all right, if I store my value in a pair of limited Jordan sneakers, that might be valuable to someone else, but it is not the same for everyone else. It's not fungible. Well, that's not quite exactly what fungible is, but it's a very loose way of explaining. You want it to be universally recognizable as something of value. And so if you have something that's valuable to this person, but not valuable to the other person, or you have something that doesn't quite look the same as the thing that you claim it is, this one looks different from that one. And another example of what something that has been used as a store of value that's not fungible are diamonds. So there are people throughout recent history in particular, that have used diamonds as a store of value, but all diamonds aren't created equal. They have different clarities, they have different cuts, they have different qualities, they come from different locations, they have different colors, they have different hues, and they have different weight. It's not fungible. So it's difficult to go to a different country and say, this is worth the same as someone said it it's worth in my country. It's just different. They're all different. You want the thing you store in to be as fungible as possible, to be universally the same as possible. And so you also want your money or your store value to be portable. What value, what great value does it have if you store your excess life, your excess value into something that cannot move? That cannot, you need to move to a different location, but you can't move your value. You can't move your life with you because you have it in something that is stationary, something that cannot move. I placed my value in this home, but I am now moving this home in New York, but I'm now moving to Spain. I can't move it. And so the best money is highly portable as well, transportable. Wherever you go, there goes your life. Wherever you go, there goes your value. So the more portable this store of value, the the better money it is. It needs to be verifiable. If someone can't verify what you claim to be is valuable, then it stops being a useful form of money to store your life in. If you have a a diamond and you claim that it is of the highest quality, and someone else says, no, that's not the highest quality, you have a conflict in your store value. And if it's not easily verifiable, then it stops being a very adequate way to put your life into that. People have experienced this problem even with gold. Gold is very difficult to verify. Is it real? Is it 14 karat? Is it 10 karat? Is it 24 karat? Is the weight really true? Is it stuffed with something else and painted over with real gold? Is there tungsten in the middle of it? Do you know how many cases have come about throughout history, even in recent history, where people thought they had billions of dollars of gold and it wound up to be only hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gold because no one decided to drill through the bricks to find out that they were stuffed with something that was fake. And in addition, even if it's real, someone still needs to verify it. And that verification process with gold is extraordinarily lengthy in time and it's expensive. So easily, not only verifiable, you want your store value to be easily verifiable, if not instantly verifiable. The more instantly verifiable your money is, the more valuable it is as a money. And of course, last but not least, and I'll leave track record off of this for the moment, last but not least is scarcity. Who wants something that is not scarce? What is also built into the human psyche, into the human DNA structure, is this innate desire for what is scarce. For whatever reason, we love what is scarce. We don't admire or honor what is not scarce. I have had the good fortune of fighting all the demons and um, conquering all of the obstacles to become what some might consider a very successful trader. I've been doing it for 37 years of my life, more actually, but 37 years as a professional. I am one, I'm recognized as that in my industry, as being one of the OGs. I started in December of 1986, and there aren't many people alive today that have that long of a history. And I've done nothing else with my adult life except trade the markets virtually every single market open day of my entire life. And I say that to say this, that despite the success that I've had, I am the loudest voice in the entire industry to tell you, you're probably not going to make it if you try this. Yes, that is my message. That it has a 92 and sometimes as much as a 98% failure rate, so don't do it. And perhaps maybe that's the reason why some of you may not even know my history as a trader, despite the fact that I'm one of the most hailed in the industry, because my voice is against the voices of most others where I tell you not to. I tell you what the failure rate is up front. I tell you that the odds are against you. I tell you that only a small percentage of people on the planet will ever be able to do this. And if you're willing to accept that, then you can give it a try. But if you're not, if you're thinking this is something that's going to be easily accomplished, that it's going to happen overnight, that's not going to take you years and years and years and years to get it, if you can stay alive during that process, then you should not do it at all. Go do something easier like crocheting or something. And because that's my message, all right, it does turn a lot of people away. And I believe I'm doing them a service by telling them you're going to fail. Now, why do I tell you this story? Because everyone wants to be one. Why does everyone want to be a trader despite the fact that it has a 92 to 98% failure rate? Because it's scarce. Because being good is scarce at trading. Being truly talented. I'm not talking about YouTube talent. That's all fake. I'm not talking about Twitter and X talent. There's a zillion people claiming themselves to be successful traders. They're not. I'm telling you that they're not. All right. But everyone wants to be one because it's so scarce. But if everybody could be a successful trader, then would it be valued? Would everyone really want to be a successful trader? No. If everybody could be a trader and you walk out of your house one day and your new neighbor says, "Hi, my name is such and such. What do you do for a living?" Yeah, I'm a trader. Yeah, everybody's a trader. There's no big deal. My grandmother's a trader. What else do you do? No one would respect it if it weren't very difficult. No one would respect acting at a superior level if it weren't so difficult. No one would respect anything being an elite athlete, which less than 1% of the world can possibly be. All right. We value scarcity. And if your money is not scarce, if what you're storing your life and your time in is not scarce, it's just simply going to be disrespected. It's not going to be value. In fact, its value, if it does even have any value, it's just going to dwindle and dwindle over time. No one respects what everyone can have. No one. We respect and honor what very few people can have or get in any decent amounts. So if you are storing your future, your life, your time, the very essence of who you are in something, you want it to have some level of scarcity. Now, these are not my categories. These are not even the categories created by Fidelity, one of the largest asset managers in the world. These are categories or qualities that Aristotle came up with as the qualities you want your store to have, your money to have, and they stand up to this very day. Now, what you see in this image is Fidelity compared gold to Bitcoin and fiat currencies. And if you look at the green checks or the green pluses on the image, you'll see clearly that Bitcoin is more durable than gold because it is forever. The fact that Bitcoin is not physical makes it more durable. Because you can't touch it, it cannot be destroyed. Because human beings can't ruin it, it cannot be destroyed. Because it doesn't require the trust of human beings, which is always broken, it lasts forever. It is accessible to every single human being on earth, yet it is not in the hands of any human being on earth, can't be controlled by any human beings on earth, cannot be confiscated or manipulated by any human beings on earth. Bitcoin is eternity itself. Gold is very durable as well. It has lasted the test of time. It's practically indestructible when you can find it in a real way. When it's really real, it will pretty much last forever as well. Okay, so you've got two green checks there. As far as divisibility, gold fails horribly. You can't buy a pair of shoes with a big giant block of gold. You simply can't. You can buy it with gold coins, but then you run into all of the other problems. Who made the coins? What kind of gold were the coins made from? Was it from a reputable company that makes coins? Did they cut corners? Did they cheat me? Does it weigh the appropriate amount? And so you still can't fill your tank up with gold. It's just not divisible or easily so. And Bitcoin is infinitely divisible. And so it trounces gold in this category. Now, fiat currency shines in this as well, but not as much as Bitcoin. All right. You can't go sub pennies with the US dollar. Right. No one says, okay, this is one 1/100th of a penny. So micro payments become very difficult in the traditional fiat currency system, but we're moving to a world where micro payments become everything. AI is demanding micro payments today and will continue to in the future. AI wants to do 1 billion processes per second and get paid per computation. How do you pay 1/billionth of an item every single millisecond to an AI? You can't with the traditional fiat rails. And so Bitcoin being infinitely divisible, and yes, the smallest unit of Bitcoin is a Satoshi, which is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, it still can be subdivided as many times as is necessary ad infinitum. And so you also have fungibility where, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. Gold is somewhat fungible, but I don't really actually believe that gold should deserve a green check here. But I understand why Fidelity gave it a green check. It gave it a green check because gold is basically recognized all over the world as having some value. And so in that case, it's fungible. But is it 10 karat? Is it 24 karat? Is it 14 karat? In my lifetime, the Argentinian peso has collapsed 4 times, and we're going on 5 times. So it's collapsing today. Again, this is the 5th time in my lifetime I have witnessed the Argentinian peso collapse. Now, when it first collapsed, or I can't even remember whether it's the first or second time, Argentinians learned their lesson from the first time, whatever, and began to store in gold. And when many Argentinians, from what I understand, and this has happened in almost all countries throughout the world, decided to flee their country, to flee the collapsing economy and to seek a better life elsewhere, many families attempted to take their gold with them outside of the country, but they were forced to exchange the gold at merchants or at the border. Now, listen to me carefully. All the gold, and this is not just Argentina, this has happened all over the world, was exchanged at either 10 ounces, either 10 karat or 14 karat. No gold was ever exchanged at 24 karat because they couldn't verify it on the spot. I don't know if it's 24 karat. I know you're telling me it's 24 karat, but unless you've got 2 weeks, you're fleeing. I know you don't have 2 weeks. I'm going to give you 10 karat. I'm going to give you the price for 10 karat. I'm not giving you the price for 24 karat. And so they lost tremendous amounts of value because it couldn't be verified. And it's not entirely fungible because you can't tell whether it's the same. I can't tell whether it's 24 karat or 10. And I'm not going to take your word for it. So I don't believe that it deserves a green box here or a green check here. Portable. Well, portability, you see that gold can't be portable. You know that. If you've got $1 billion of gold, try moving that to Italy. Try moving that outside of your country. And you can't, but you can walk anywhere in the world, go anywhere in the world, even outer space, with billions of dollars in your head with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is everywhere, nowhere at the same time. In fact, Bitcoin is language. It's 12 words. Bitcoin is math. Those words represent digits, numbers. And language and math is universal, which means that it's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And so because of that, it is more portable than anything we've ever had in the form of a money. And they have an X in portability with fiat as well. And I beg to differ. I do understand why they put the green check for fiat currency like the US dollar in there, but try to get on a plane with $100,000 or $20,000 even. Try to. Oh, you can try to sneak it. But if you get caught, I guarantee you, you won't make your plane. You're not allowed without permission to take your money, your fiat currency outside of your country. You need permission for that. Why? Because it's really not yours. You're told that it's yours, but it's really not. It is yours as long as you're going to put it back into our system. That's what the message is. Why are you taking our money outside of our land? You better give me a good reason or you're going to miss this flight. And so it's not as portable as Bitcoin. Nobody's going to ask you how much Bitcoin you have. I mean, it's been done, but how are they ever going to know? Your Bitcoin is with you at all times with your 12 words. Put it in your head and no one can ever take it. 100% portable. Bitcoin is verifiable. There is nothing on earth, no monetary system, no anything, no company, no organization, no corporation, no anything, no federal bureau, no bank that is audited the way Bitcoin is. Every 10 minutes, Bitcoin goes through a full audit. Every single Satoshi is accounted for. And every person on planet Earth can verify for themselves where every single Satoshi is right now, this instant, this moment. When's the last time the Federal Reserve of the United States was audited? When was the last time Fort Knox was audited? Never. Not really. Bitcoin is audited every single 10 minutes of its existence. And that audit, that verifiability is accessible to every human being on the planet. Scarcity. Bitcoin in April of 2024, in just a few months, will become the hardest money ever known to mankind. It will have a stock to flow ratio that is that's close to 120. I believe it's 118 or something like that, but close to 120. Or is it the hardest money on earth today, or the hardest store of value on earth today is considered gold and real estate? I believe that gold sits something like 63, and real estate they claim is 100. Well, in April of 2024, after its having or happening, you pick your word, Bitcoin becomes the hardest money on planet Earth. It is also the scarcest, having only 21 million units, 5 million to 6 million of which have been lost or assumed to have been lost. And there aren't enough millionaires in the world to grab today even 1/2 of a Bitcoin. If every millionaire in the world today wanted a Bitcoin, it would be impossible. I believe at last check, there was something like 66 million millionaires in the world today. 66 million. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, and 5 to 6 million are lost. And a portion of the supply is lost every single year. This is the scarcest asset the world has ever had access to, ever. It's also the hardest asset, meaning it's the hardest to duplicate, the hardest to make more of. And so, because of all of these qualities and because Bitcoin basically ranks the highest in almost all of these qualities, it is that money that innately we seek. We naturally seek the hardest money available because we seek to save our lives, and the value that we produce is the representation of our very lives. We seek to store our life in something that will last, in something that can be easily divided, in something that is fungible, in something that is portable, in something that is easily verifiable, and something that is scarce. Not that everyone will disrespect because everyone has it. And so, because of this, I truly believe that over time, more and more human beings will naturally descend on Bitcoin because that's what's built inside of our DNA. We naturally and even unconsciously wind up gravitating toward the hardest money, the scarcest money, the more durable money, the more divisible money, the more fungible money, the more portable money, the more verifiable money. We naturally do it. It doesn't even have to be by design. Eventually, you will come to Bitcoin. Whether you believe in it today or not, you have to, because over time, that DNA pull, that innate drive in you to protect your life will lead you to Bitcoin. It has done this throughout history. Throughout history, mankind has naturally gravitated to the hardest, scarcest, most durable thing. And throughout history, it has been different things. And this is very important. This is a very important part of our talk here. You see, before Bitcoin, we've tried everything as money. We tried stones, all right? And if you're looking for a really interesting story on how stones were used to store massive amounts of wealth, read up on rye stones. It's spelled R-A-I stones. It was big, massive stones in this one island. And these stones represented the wealth of the country, the wealth of the land. People came from all over to actually store their wealth in a stone. And you could have a portion of a stone that represented your wealth. And there was a record keeper that said that your wealth was this quarter of this stone. And some people who were extraordinarily wealthy, they had a whole rye stone to themselves. We use stones as money and stores of wealth. We have used things like tools in the form of spades and knives. China was known for using spades and knives as actual money. We use seashells like wampum. We use beads like agri beads. The Africans use beads as money. Agri beads, we use weapons, guns and ammunition. Some people still use ammunition and guns as money today. We've used things like metal. There was a time where copper used to be considered money, and then it became silver that was used as money. And then we finally settled on gold. But before the world descended on gold as the soundest money, they were in search of gold. They were in search of it through stones first. And then that broke down on this quality list, and something else became better. And after stones, it became tools. Well, tools could be divided better than stones. They were smaller. So it added to divisibility. And then things like seashells. Well, seashells had a certain degree of scarcity. It's not like a human being can make one. So seashells became more scarce than tools because tools can be man-made, and the better man became at making tools, the more it ruined tools as a store of value. Because remember, the more successful traders, the less valuable being a successful trader is. The more tools, the less value tools become. And so seashells came into existence because human beings could make them, and that started to be money until technology increased man's ability to get more and more seashells. And then seashells were ruined in the form of scarcity, and then weapons. Not everybody in the world knew how to make them, and so forth and so on. So throughout the entire evolutionary process of money, all we've been doing is trying to find the best thing. What's the best thing? Well, right now it's silver. And then when gold came, then it was like, well, it's not silver anymore because people are finding silver at a much higher rate than they're finding gold. So gold improved on silver. Gold became harder as a money than silver. It became more scarce than silver. It could be it wasn't able, you weren't able to find it as easily as you can find silver. And so it took over silver's role as money. Silver was money for 9,000 years. Gold's money for almost 6,000 years. But if you stayed on silver, you got debased. You became poor. Even if you were rich, if you didn't switch from silver to gold, your value of your silver went down and down and down and down. And those who switched to gold, their value went up and up and up and up. And so the last form of money to be descended upon as money by human beings was gold, in a sense. And fiat currencies came into being because gold, after serving its role as the best money for a long time, it started to fail. Gold started to fail humanity. It served as the best the world had. It was freaking durable. It was, it had all of those qualities, the best. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best of the best the world had until the world sped up. And then the speeding up of progress, the progress of the human race, the rapidity with which trade needed to occur, the long distances. Trade used to happen in small kingdoms. And then when trade started to happen inter-kingdom, in many different kingdoms, gold started to fail. Trade used to happen in a small town amongst people who knew each other. And when trade grew to include people that they don't know, when trade expanded, gold started to fail. How did it fail humanity as humanity became more advanced? How did gold start to stop being as sound as it used to be in a slow world? What made a fast world reveal the weaknesses in gold? Well, it's all in the list of qualities, right? When you start to do business outside of your kingdom and you need to travel, how do you transport this? It is, you subject yourself to theft, robbery, confiscation, losing it on a boat in the bottom of the ocean. It's extraordinarily expensive. You need security. So goals started to fail when the world began to expand and start to do business and interact with people that were beyond whom they knew. And how, as the world became faster, I need payment in 5 days. Well, how do I get the gold to you in 5 days? And so as we began to be more advanced, as our lives sped up, as trade became more advanced, more intricate, as trade went beyond the people that we knew, it required a different level of trust. It required a greater speed that gold did not have. It required more divisibility that gold did not have. It required more transportability that gold did not have. And so as the world became more technologically advanced, this ancient rock began to shine less. It had a good run, and now the baton has been passed to what some people refer to as digital gold. Now, I know that was rather lengthy, and I know it was involved, but I actually said all of that to come to this. I said all of that just to say what I'm about to say. No, it was long, no, it was involved, but it was necessary for us to lay that foundation first. If you look at what used to be money, right? If you look at what used to be money, what we tried as money throughout humanity, stones, tools, seashells, beads, weapons, metals, rocks, gold. Every single try that human beings gave, every single attempt to make something their permanent money had a utility. And I am here to tell you today, people, that that was the problem. The problem with every other form of money humans have ever tried, it was used for something else other than money. It had a use case outside of being money. It had a utility outside of it just being able to store my life, store my time, store my excess. Looked at another way, every other form of money throughout history had a part-time job. Every other form of money moonlighted on us, moonlighted on you. It moonlighted on our ancestors. Do you want your vault, the vault that you store your very life in, that protects your family and everything it has? Do you want your vault saying, well, okay, look, I'm going to protect you and your family up until 7 o'clock, but I like to play the guitar. So at 7 o'clock, I'm going to stop protecting your money and I'm going down for my second job where I play for this bar down the street and they pay me X number of dollars to be the entertainment there. I'll be back 6 o'clock in the morning to start protecting your money again. It doesn't work. You don't want your vault to do nothing but be a vault. What's the utility of a vault? It's a freaking empty space. That's all it is. But it's not supposed to have another utility. It's not supposed to be using the space for anything else but protecting you, protecting your time, protecting your value, protecting your very life. It's not supposed to be used for dentistry. Your vault's not supposed to be used for electronics. Your vault's not supposed to be used for anything else but being a vault, protecting your value. And when people say, well, what use case does Bitcoin have? They don't understand that the world, we have been searching for millennia in search of one that finally didn't moonlight on us. We were searching finally for money that I just want you to be money. I don't want you to be anything else. And that's something else that all of our monies used to do. That's what held it back. That's what caused it to fail. Gold today is not just a store of value. Gold is used in electronics. Gold is used in people's mouths in dentistry. Gold is used in certain consumer products. Gold is used in certain electronic components. It has part-time jobs. It moonlights on us. And because of that utilitarian use case for gold, it caps its price. Do you realize that whenever a money does something else, it is the something else that stops it from growing? Because gold can't rise past it being viable for all of its other use cases. You're going to put the dentist out of business. You're going to put the electronics business, the electronics industry out of business. You're going to put the you know, you're going to put the transistor industry out of business if gold is allowed to rise too quickly or rise too high. So because it's doing all of these other things, all of those other things put a cap on its price. Oil can't be an appropriate store of value because it's used for a variety of other different things. I'm not saying it can't be used as a store of value. It's not the ultimate store of value because it moonlights on you. It does 50,000 other things, and those other things will cap the price every single time. If you look at the image that I posted for you, where I show you a concept with several items, Bitcoin, gold. Let me get this as well so I can speak intelligently to you about it. Okay, I put this together for you. And what you'll see, give me a second here. Pull that up if you can. What you'll see is an image that is displaying what I call utility versus premium values. And so what is utility is when something is used for something else other than money. It's utilized for dentistry. It's utilized for electronics. It's utilized for this. It's utilized for that. And it's utilized as a vault to store my value. So monetary premium represents the portion that is used as the vault. So monetary premium is the vault portion. Utility is the moonlighting portion, the second and third and fourth job portion, the use case portion. And so if you were to look at these things in relationship to their monetary premium, how much of this is used to store my wealth, and how much of this item is used for other things outside of storing my wealth, you would see that the item that has the greater utility has the smaller unit price. So if we go all the way to the right of the image, you see air. Air has the most valuable use case on planet Earth. It is utilized by every single human being. No one could ever say air doesn't have a use case. Of course, it has not only a use case, every single human being on Earth relies on it. So it has use case up the frickin' wazoo. You understand? It has utility up the frickin' wazoo. I know I'm dating myself with that terminology, but you know, it's okay. But yet air is free. Higher the use case, lower the monetary value per unit. If we go to water, water has a very high utility as well. Human beings can't last without water. They can last without water longer than they can last without air. So you can't say that it has as high of a utility as air, almost as high. You can last longer without water than you can last without air. But yet water, if you want to put a price on it, is about $1 a bottle if you buy it, but it's basically free, but you can buy water for like $1. You know what I'm saying? Higher the use case, the higher the utility, the smaller the monetary unit. If you go to copper, copper is used far more things than silver. Silver's used in a lot of things, guys. It's in our electronics, it's in our computers, it's in our cars, it's in our phones. Silver's all over the place. You can look in your room today and find probably 100 things that silver's in. But copper is in everything. Copper's in the mic, copper's in my phone, copper's in the computer, copper's in my walls, copper's in the floor, copper's in the ceiling, copper's in my lamps, copper's in my bulbs, copper's everywhere you look is copper. But silver is highly used, but not more used than copper. Copper has more use case than silver. And look, copper's $4 a unit, and silver's $26 an ounce. Maybe a little higher now. This might be a little bit outdated, but you know what I'm saying. But silver's used more than gold. When someone says, well, what's the use case of Bitcoin? I say, well, what's the use case of silver? It's a lot, right? And so compare the use case of silver with the use case of gold. Silver's used far more. Silver wins against gold if you judge it based on utility, if you judge it based on use case. But yet, look at the monetary unit of silver versus the monetary unit of gold. $26 versus 2,000, 2,100, whatever it is today. But as you can see, the more something is used, the smaller the monetary unit, the less something is used, and the more for anything else other than storing value, the higher the monetary unit. Now, this was done when Bitcoin was $30,000 a coin. Now it's 43. So my point is that Bitcoin doesn't have part-time jobs. Bitcoin is not supposed to have another use case. The value of a vault is its empty space. One could say, well, this space is useless. What's this space used for? It's just empty space. How is this valuable? It protects your life. It protects everything that you are. That's the value of it. That's its use case. Its vaultness is its use case. Its security is its use case. Its invincibility is its use case. Its indestructibility is its use case. Its inconfiscatability is its use case. Its portability is its use case. Its divisibility is its use case. Its fungibility is its use case. Its verifiability is its use case. It doesn't need to do anything else but protect me. I don't want Bitcoin doing anything else. I don't want it taking off to have a second job and a third job and a fourth job. I don't want it to have another use case, but one, protect me. Protect me from being debased by other men. Protect me from having to trust someone else. Protect me from theft. Protect me from being debased and degraded and whittled away by no choice of my own. That's all I needed to do, and that's all it does. And we have finally, as a species, found the perfect money. The money that we've been searching from the beginning of time. One that just protects my time. The time that I gave to someone or something, receive this back, but I don't need it right now. Can you protect it for me, Bitcoin? And Bitcoin gladly says, of course I can. Not only will I protect it, but over time I will make it grow. I will make it multiply. Everything else we've tried has actually gone the other way. Everything else that we've tried as money has just gotten less and less. And some people say, well, Oliver, that's not true because gold is trading at all-time new highs. It has actually gone up its whole life. And in one way that's true, but in another way it's not. Because $2,000 is pretty much the same value that you would need to buy the same thing 1,000 years ago. It's just that the money supply has increased, but an ounce of gold bought the same thing 1,000 years ago that it pretty much buys today. Think about that. That's going up in value. An ounce of gold used to be $100. But back then, $100 got you what 2000 gets you today. So did gold really go up in value? No, it maintained itself at value. I admit I've been a gold bug most of my adult life, guys. I know gold probably better than you. And I do know that it has served us well. I do know that it is a great protector of value. It is a horrible grower of your value. It has done a very decent job at protecting your value, maintaining your value, keeping it relatively the same, but it doesn't grow it. $2,000 is the same as $100 years and years ago. You haven't grown anything. You've maintained, but you haven't grown it. And because of Bitcoin's superior qualities, and because it is finite, unlike anything else in the universe, this is why it will go up forever against everything that grows. Whatever grows will decline in value against what doesn't grow in supply. Whatever is finite will grow in value, but when measured by other things that are infinite in supply. The dollar is infinite in its supply, which means that it will go down in Bitcoin terms forever, which is another way of saying Bitcoin will go up in US dollar terms forever. It will never stop rising as long as there is a US dollar, because as long as there's a US dollar, there's going to be more printed. And because there's going to be more printed against that which is not printed, Bitcoin will go up forever. This is something that I find that a lot of people don't understand. The fact that Bitcoin is designed to be the opposite of what the US dollar is, the opposite of the purchasing power of fiat currencies. So the purchasing power of fiat currencies can only go in one direction. It can only go down, which means that if Bitcoin is the mirror opposite of that, it can only go up. So every time fiat currencies go down, Bitcoin goes up. It's literally designed that way. It is designed to be the opposite. And because fiat currencies will only be printed forever until they don't exist anymore, Bitcoin will only go up until they don't exist anymore. Bitcoin, as long as there's a US dollar, Bitcoin will rise. As long as there's an Argentinian peso, Bitcoin will rise. As long as there is a euro, Bitcoin will rise. As long as there is a Japanese yen, Bitcoin will rise. Because people ask me, Oliver, when will Bitcoin stop rising when every other money in the world is no more? That's when it will stop rising. Its rise is literally the decline of everything else. And when there is no everything else, that is when it becomes a stable store of value. And that is when its ultimate period of being a medium of exchange comes into being. Before that, it is a pure store of value. Before that, it is a better gold. Before that, it is the ultimate vault. It is where you store your time. It is where you store your energy, your efforts, the fruits of your labor. You protect it in the most secure vault the world has ever seen, a vault that no human being can touch, a vault that no human being can open, can crack, can debase, can steal from you. Everything else is a melting ice cube. Everything else is declining in value against Bitcoin. And so the goal should be that if you make in anything else, you should flip it to what is not declining as quickly as you possibly can. And the only thing in the world today that is not declining is Bitcoin. People say, well, Oliver, the NASDAQ's not declining. Oh, yes, it is. Against Bitcoin, it is. The S&P is not declining. Yes, it is. Real estate's not declining. Yes, it is. Everything is declining against Bitcoin. Everything is a melting ice cube. They're just melting at different rates. So cash is melting the fastest. Bonds are melting the second fastest. And just because they have a tiny yield on it, it slows the melting down a little bit. Real estate is melting the next fastest. Cash is the fastest. Bonds is a little slower. Real estate's a little slower than bond. The stock market is a little slower than real estate. And the NASDAQ, and Bitcoin goes the other way. Because all of the other things are declining, Bitcoin's rising. People don't get this. The very decline of everything else is the rise of Bitcoin. You can't separate them. They're like two sides of a coin. And I get all the time, people say, well, Oliver, that doesn't make sense because then why is Bitcoin correlated with the stock market? Bitcoin's not correlated with the stock market. Any correlation that you see is coincidental. It is not true correlation. If it were correlated, the value of the stock market wouldn't be going down against Bitcoin. If you price the stock market in Bitcoin, it's a straight line down. If you price the US dollar in Bitcoin, it's literally the Bitcoin chart priced in dollars upside down. It's going straight down. Bitcoin's going straight up, dollar's going down. Bitcoin straight up, stock market's going down. It's just going down slower than dollars. Everything is going down against Bitcoin, but they're just going down at different rates, but the direction is all the same. So Bitcoin's rise is the fall of everything. That is why it's our savior. It is our savior because it's the only thing that's not sinking. It's the only thing that's not losing value. It can't lose value because it stays at 21 million. Everything else grows in supply, which shrinks its value. Well, some people say, well, Oliver, they're not making that much gold anymore. Yeah, but let the price go to 2,500 and see how much more gold starts coming out of the ground. It's a false scarcity. Gold is infinite in the universe. We haven't even 3/4 of the earth is ocean. We haven't even started searching for gold in the oceans yet. We're still on 1/3 of the earth. And we still haven't even finished with the 1/3 of the earth. We've only scratched the surface. If you go deeper, there's a whole infinite other layer of supply of gold. So we've got the top layer of gold gone, but if we go lower, there's another layer. And if we go lower than that, there's another layer. And you keep going lower, and the lower and lower you go, the more and more gold you find. And let's not talk about that's going down. Let's not talk about looking up into the meteorites, where there's infinite, there are quantities of gold on meteorites today that make the gold on planet Earth look like a thimble. Gold is not scarce. It is infinite. It is just expensive to get at. But Bitcoin is truly provably scarce. And not only is it scarce, it's something that nothing else ever has been. It is absolutely finite. I don't care how much money you throw at it, you're not going to get more than 6.25 Bitcoin every 2 minutes. You can throw all the money you have in the world at it. You can grab the monies of other galaxies and bring it here and throw it at it. The same amount's going to come out every 10 minutes. You can't force it But if you throw a lot of money at mining gold, you're going to get more. And that's the way every other form of money has been. Its supply is infinite. Everything is infinite. Everything. The only thing, the first thing in the human experience that's not infinite in nature is Bitcoin. The first thing that is provably scarce is Bitcoin. The first thing we've come into contact with in the human experience that is truly finite is Bitcoin. And this is why it will go up in value forever as long as there's something else that exists. It will stop going up when everything is gone. Everything else that you consider valuable, it must disappear for Bitcoin to stop going up. Because the very downward movement of another thing is the upward movement of Bitcoin. It's mathematically guaranteed. We have a certainty in Bitcoin that the human race has never experienced. And it is for this reason that we distrust it at the moment. It's for this reason that it just seems too good to be true. It's for this reason that it's unbelievable because it's never happened in the human experience before. We've never had something that we can place 100% of our trust in until now. We've never had something that is as certain as math. 1 + 1 = 2. Never in the human experience have we had this. We've never had something that another man doesn't control. We've never had this. So it's hard in the beginning now to trust this. It's hard to believe it. This level of certainty has never been the gift of the human race until now. And this is why I'm always telling you that we are amongst the chosen ones. We are chosen because we had the good fortune of living in today's time, a time where our future families will look back and read books about the people who were the early adopters of this thing, the people who got it when it could be bought. Your grandchildren are going to actually marvel at the fact that you were allowed to buy this because it won't be buyable for very long. They're going to be marveled that there were companies that sold this. They're going to be even more marveled that people gave away free Satoshis. Really? The same way you and I say people gave away full Bitcoins, thousands of Bitcoins they gave away as gifts. Your grandkids, people gave away free Satoshis. You could buy Bitcoin. Granddaddy, grandma, how old are you? We are the chosen ones because we're early. Bitcoin hasn't even started taking over the world yet. Bitcoin hasn't even started becoming the dominant money on earth, the dominant store of value. Today, there's less than half of 1% of the world has adopted this. And with that little tiny drop, Bitcoin is the best performing asset on planet Earth. Out of 7,000, I believe it is, 7,000 plus assets in the world, 7,000, all of which are older than Bitcoin. 7,000. Bitcoin's the 9th most valuable asset in the entire world, and it's still a baby. It passed 7,000 items to become number 9 in the world. That's insane. There are 200 currencies in the world. 200. There's only 2 younger than Bitcoin. And out of 200 currencies, it's number 16 and it's a baby. 16th most valuable currency in the world, and it's just warming up. It's a child. It's done all of this. It has beat every single metric on planet Earth that you can imagine. It has beat every financial metric. It has beat every asset in a 1-month category. It has beat every asset in a 2-month category, in a 3-month category, in a 6-month category, in a year category, in a in a quarter category, in 5-year category, in 2-year category, in 3-year category, in 10-year category, in 15-year category. There's not a single category that Bitcoin is not number one in. And it accomplished all of this. It became the best performing asset the world has ever seen. It became the 9th most valuable asset on planet Earth. It became the 16th most valuable currency the world has today. It has the number one rank in performance in every single conceivable category you can ever come up with. It's done that with half of 1% of the world getting it. Oh, where's it going to be at 1%? Oh my goodness. 2%? 5%? 20%? The internet is at 60% today. The internet is still being adopted today. It's only 60%. Between 60 and 65% of the world have access to the internet today. It is still growing, still being adopted, and it took over all of our lives. But imagine what the internet of money is going to do if it has accomplished all of this with half of 1%. My point is this, that whether you want to accept it or not, what I explained at the top of my talk is already happening. That the human spirit, that what is innate in our DNA is unconsciously seeking this out. It has to be so because Bitcoin wouldn't have accomplished all of this if it's not so. This is not by mistake that it is killing everything. This is not by mistake that it is beating everything. It is not by mistake or chance that it has more momentum than anything else. That it's accomplished so much with so little. Throughout history, we have always sought out, consciously and mostly unconsciously, that which is superior in the form of a store. And there is nothing we have today more superior than Bitcoin. And I don't care what is thrown at it. I don't care how much resistance is raised against it. It cannot be stopped. It won't be stopped. It can't be stopped. It is invincible. And you will continue to see these stats, to see this performance, to see this momentum, to see this adoption in your face over and over and over again. Because at the end of the day, it's simple maths. It's that certain. They used to say that the only thing certain in life is death and taxes. Well, not anymore. You got to add Bitcoin to that list too. So, final point here. You don't want Bitcoin to have another use case. Forget another use case. Be proud of the fact that Bitcoin does one thing and one thing only: protect me, store for me. And it does it better than anything else the world has ever had. Be proud of the fact that it doesn't have another part-time job or is used by another industry for this and that. Little boring dentists. I'm sorry if I'm offending any dentists. Little dentists in little white coats and masks and working in people's dirty mouths. Be glad it's not used for that. Be glad it doesn't sit in somebody's electronic device. It's pure, unadulterated protection and security. And that's all you need it to be. All right, guys, that's my talk today. I hope in that, I don't even know how long I've been going here, but I hope in that little talk, you've got some glimpse of what I was really trying to communicate here. I hope you understand that the more something is used, the lower the unit, the more it will be capped. I hope you also understand that Bitcoin will rise forever because everything else will go down forever. It's just designed that way. It's designed to be the opposite of purchasing power. And purchasing power throughout the entire history of mankind, of everything else, has always just gone down because you can always make more of it. Anything you can make more of will always go down in value. It will never go up because you can't make more of Bitcoin. It can only go up against everything else that is going down. These are the things that I hope you've understood. And guys, please use these talks if you can to, these talks are not meant to be entirely conclusive. They're also not taught to actually totally convince you. In fact, I would prefer that you not be totally convinced by anything that I say here. But what I do want it to serve as an impetus for you to go out and start your own journey, to study, to lift the curtain yourself, to do the work. Bitcoin is built on a proof of work protocol, which means that you are going to have to build the work. You're not going to be able to survive the FUD that's thrown at this thing if you don't have your own conviction. If you're relying on my conviction, it's not going to work. You're going to let it go and someone else is going to take it away from you forever. If you don't build your own conviction by doing your own work, you won't be able to survive Bitcoin's volatility. It's moves to the downside to shake all the dirty hands off that don't deserve it. Bitcoin drops to become Bitcoin's drops are our benevolence. It's our second and third chances to do what we should have done the last time it was at the price. You won't be able to survive those dips if you haven't done the work to build your own conviction. You're not going to be able to fight off all the negativity from your family, from your friends, from the mainstream media, from your very own politicians that you vote for. You're not going to be able to survive all the negative things that are thrown at Bitcoin if you do not do the work. Bitcoin is proof of work, and your conviction is proof of that work. And so I don't want my talks to be a replacement for your work. I don't want it to be a substitute for what you have to do. You have to do what I've done. You have to hit the books. You've got to delve deeper. You've got to lift the curtain. You've got to study. You've got to investigate. You've got to get yourself to the point where you see this as clear as day. And then only are you equipped and ready to ride this thing out and protect your family for an eternity. All right, guys, let me just see if I have any comments from you. I was talking. I always talk longer than I intend to, guys. I always do. I apologize about that, but I get fired up. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens. I get freaking fired up here. Nuolo's asking, so hi, Oliver, another great space is, appreciate it. My question is around personal security practices. As Bitcoin becomes more valuable, it's possible that more bad actors will target Bitcoiners in malicious ways. Absolutely true. What are some security practices we should think about? All right. Now, this is very true. I do want you to understand that as Bitcoiners, we for a while will have X's on our backs. So to be honest with you, I encourage that you don't do what I do. I sacrifice my security. I sacrifice my privacy to spread the gospel. That's the trade-off. That's the cost I've decided consciously to take and to make. And I do that because that's just the way I am. I cannot see an escape and not share that with you. Some people are just wired that way, and I'm wired that way. So I know what the price is. The price for doing that, the price from shouting from the rooftops, the price for being the voice in the wilderness to people who will listen is my security and my privacy. And I understand that. But I will tell you that you don't have to do that. And nor do I think that you should unless you have a talent at doing this. And if you don't have a talent at doing this, you should keep your mouth shut because you do have an X. You will, all of us have an X on our back. And that is from all sides. But I also believe that over time, Bitcoin's security practices and its ability to increase privacy These things will only improve, and Bitcoin will arrive at a state in the future. And I believe that this state is coming sooner rather than later, actually, where Bitcoin is going to be recognized as the only thing on earth that you can't take or steal from anyone. And when that happens, theft, financial theft, for the most part, disappears. When someone knows that it's impossible to steal something, and the only way they're going to give it is to deliver value, it raises the productivity of everyone involved. Because if a person can take it without delivering value, it will be taken. But if something emerges in our lives, in our very existences, that is the most valuable thing on earth, but it is also the only thing that is impossible to confiscate or take, then the only way to get it is to deliver value to people who have it if you want more of it. And it better be extraordinarily high value, because this is the most important and the rarest and the most valuable thing on earth. And so I believe that over time, Bitcoin will raise the productivity of the earth, because it will reach that point where it is just understood by every human being on planet. You just can't take this. Now, what are some of the things that we can do to speed that up? I believe that multi-jurisdictional, multi-sig security setups help to move us closer to that. Nothing's perfect now. Bitcoin will become more and more perfect as we go along, but it's not perfect now. But that is the closest thing, in my opinion, to perfection that we have outside of time-locked Bitcoin. If you time-lock your Bitcoin, which is a topic for another day, then not even you can touch it. And so time-locked Bitcoin, along with multi-jurisdictional, multi-sig security setup, where you have 2 of 3 wallets put in different locations. It requires 2 of the 3 to unlock. You make sure that there is a security element between every single location. So if you've got one wallet stored at one location, you want to make sure there's a police station or a bridge or a train or a plane that exists between that location and another location. And you want the other location, the third location, to be the same. You want to make sure that there's some security passing that has to take place between each of your wallet's locations. And so now you can't even get to your Bitcoin, the deep storage Bitcoin. I'm not talking about that amount that you keep loosely in your hot wallet on your phone to buy coffee with. That's very different. I'm talking about your true family's value, that deep cold storage value, that thick, impenetrable vault. You want that to be secured that way, so that even you can't get to it with ease. And so when most of the world does this, most of the world will understand that I can't take this. I can't steal this from somebody, or at least it will be greatly diminished. All right. True says gold is no different than global seashells. In a way, it is. That's right. Because with more effort, you find more, and that is not the case with Bitcoin. Mike says, awesome talk. I will forward. What price do you think the dismissive will decide to naturally decide that maybe they should take notice of Bitcoin? For some reason, 0 to 44,000 in 14 years isn't enough. No. And unfortunately, the majority of people will not adopt this until several things occur. It becomes the most valuable thing in the world and stays there for a period of time. And so at what price currently is that? Over $600,000 a coin. So at over about 150,000, about 150,000, it takes out Apple as being the most valuable asset on earth outside of gold. At around 600,000, maybe a little bit north of that today, 650,000, let's call it, Bitcoin takes out gold as being the number one valuable thing on earth. Now, how does the number one valuable thing, the thing that is more valuable than anything else on the planet, be ignored for very long? It can't. So I think that's, unfortunately, most people won't start adopting until it's that obvious in their face. Oh, well, it's the most valuable thing on planet Earth. The second thing, it will start to become just naturally adopted by almost everyone when almost everyone or more and more people in every single daily life says, I'm only taking Bitcoin. And so what I mean by that is that the things that you need, you say, what, but I've got dollars. When people say, I don't want dollars, you got to get me, go get me Bitcoin. If you want this service from me, get me Bitcoin. If you want me to fix your sink, I only accept Bitcoin. I'm the only choice you have. And I'm telling you, I'm not taking your dollars. You got to get me Bitcoin. So as more and more people demand, as you demand Bitcoin, you say, listen, I will do you this favor, but I'm not taking dollars. You got to send it to this wallet. Here's the address. Oh, you don't know how to get Bitcoin? Let me show you. Open up this account, transfer some money, and buy it and then send it to this wallet because I'm not accepting dollars. And so as more and more people begin to demand Bitcoin for their services, including you, it will naturally become more and more adopted by everyone, even the naysayers. Because if a naysayer needs something and the thing that they really need can only be had because the person that can give them the thing they need will only take Bitcoin, that's when it starts to become. And now, so the higher in price Bitcoin goes, the more people want it. So I will tell you this, when Bitcoin's $100,000 and someone says, I will pay you in dollars or pay you in Bitcoin, I guarantee you more of you are going to say, you know what, give it to me in Bitcoin. And so the higher Bitcoin's price becomes, the more desirable it becomes. The more desirable it comes, the more people demand it for the services that they give to others. The more people demand it for the services they give to others, the more even naysayers just have to go get it. And then they stop being naysayers. And so this process is the process of how any money gets played out over time. But what I will say is that the early adopters get the they you know that there should be the saying the the early risers get the worm. Well, the early adopters get the worm. The early adopters get the highest level of benefits. There will always be benefits no matter when you adopt Bitcoin, but you get the highest. The earliest you are, the higher the benefits you get. And so you want to make sure you are still amongst the early. All right. Rat Poison CEO says Bitcoin is backed by physics. That is exactly right. I didn't want to make this overly complex. I wanted to take this talk to the view. I wanted to take this talk and do my best to dumb it down in a way where you can say, yeah, Bitcoin doesn't have a use case except one, it protects me. Air has a use case. Air has the ultimate use case. What's the value? Silver has one of the highest use cases. What's the value? Copper even has more of a use case than silver. It's less value than silver. Silver has more of a use case than gold. It's less valuable than gold. Gold has a um Bitcoin has a less utility than gold does, and ultimately, it will have a ultimate higher value. It has a higher monetary unit value. It's 43 in Bitcoin. I mean, gold is 2000, but as a total value, it must go past gold for that reason alone, that it's pure monetary value. And gold is not pure monetary value. It has other part-time jobs. And so the thing that does not have part-time jobs will ultimately outstrip the thing that does. And so I wanted to come at it that way. All right, guys. I don't see where I do have any other comments, but I will say this. I usually see a lot of your comments after I close, and I just don't know why that's the case. DJ, I see one here. DJ Satoshi saying, how do you envision a credit system working on Bitcoin? I think that's a good question. And I also think that it is a topic for a separate talk, but I will say this in passing, that Bitcoin's not going to Bitcoin is not going to eliminate, been talking so long, not going to eliminate credit, and nor should it, and nor do you want it to. I just think that there will be responsible credit systems built on top of Bitcoin. And so it is going to make credit more honest. It is going to stop making credit a tool to steal from others and take advantage of others, but help make others more productive. What credit does in a nutshell is it fast forwards the the fruits of your labor, right? So what it does is say, listen, I know I have to, what credit does is say, I have to work X number of years to get this to start my business. But if I get credit for this amount and I can receive this amount now, instead of it taking me 3 years to save to start this business, through credit, I will get the 3 years ahead of time and I will pay it back. So credit is doing nothing more than fast forwarding your future to now, but there's a cost for that. And so there will be Bitcoiners that are willing to give you that. There will be Bitcoiners that were going to be willing to say, all right, I'll fast forward this to you for this, but you've got to put up this. And so what it's going to do, it is going to make the entire credit system built on top of it fair, and it's going to help create a credit system that can't be used to steal from someone as a manipulative tool or to enslave them and to keep them enslaved to the credit terms forever. All right. Good question there. What's the best argument to convince a gold bug for Bitcoin? The first thing I would do is just keep putting in their face the gold/BTC chart. So all you have to do is go to trading view. What you type in is you put gold, GOLD, you put a slash, and then I prefer that you put sats USD. So you literally write the symbol just like that. You do GOLD /, no spaces, GOLD / sats USD, SATS USD, and then you must press enter. Like if you don't press enter, it's not going to come up. So you put that in one more time, GOLD / SATSUSD, enter, boom, pull that chart up, take a snapshot of it, and keep sending it to them. And say, this chart is showing you what your experience is holding gold versus Bitcoin, and it's a straight line down. And over time, a true gold bug will start to understand that because a gold bug does that with the US dollar. That's what a gold bug does. It compares the holding, how the dollar has lost purchasing power against gold, and it has. But so now tell the gold bug, well, I know that you know how to do this with the dollar, but now replace the dollar with Bitcoin and see how gold holds up with its purchasing power against Bitcoin. And just in case they don't know how to do it, send it to them and do it repeatedly. And if a gold bug is truly a gold bug, they will ultimately get that message. All right. Bitcoin's going to come back down, right? Right? Wicked's asking this crazy question. It's going up forever, Wicked. I know you know that. Let's see. All right, guys. Well, listen, I want to thank you all for attending I want to also remind you that I deeply appreciate anyone who listens here. I don't want anything from you. I have never asked, nor will I ever ask you for a single thing except one thing. Just look. Just stop and investigate just a little bit. Don't just scroll through Twitter. Just stop and lift the curtain a little bit. Look a little deeper. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I want from you. I will never ask you to buy something, give me money. Trust me, I don't need your money. What I would like to have is to just have you look. That's the only reason I do this. Just look. I want to thank you all for being here. I hope I've delivered something of value here today. And if I haven't, I'm going to try to get better every single time I'm given the honor to speak to you. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I know you know what to do. Go to work. Go to work. Stack harder. You're not stacking hard enough. Ciao for now, guys. My name is Oliver Velez, and I am your 13%er Bitcoiner. Be safe out there, and until next time. Boom!